ရှုမှတ်လို့ရှိရင်ခန္ဓာတိုက်တာဝန္တသိသွားတယ်ကြောက်ကြွဆက်ပုံတွေလည်းသိသွားတယ်မျက်စိရဲ့သဘောပဲဆိုတာလည်းသိသွားတယ်ဒီနည်းနဲ့ပဲအစဉ်စဉ်သိသွားလို့ရှိရင်မသိမှုအဝိဇ္ဇာဥခေါင်းဟာပြတ်သွားတယ်အဲလိုအဝိဇ္ဇာဥခေါင်းပြုတ်ကြရမှာပြတ်ရမှာသူရဲ့အဖို့ဖြစ်တဲ့တတ္တသနာဝိရိယတတိသမารိပညာတွေလည်းပဲတမာရီတွေလည်းပါနေတယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလေးထည့်သွင်းပြီးတော့ပြောသွားပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါဒီနေ့အဲ့ဒါလေးအစထားပြီးတော့ဆက်လက်ပြီးတော့ရှင်းပြပါမယ်
Yesterday, the Sayadaw talked about how the head of ignorance, head of the samsaric cycle, can be cut off if one is present, one is mindful at the moment of seeing, for example. For with that moment of mindfulness in the seeing process, one can come to know the true nature of the receptor element, the striker element, and the ignition element, as well as other associated mental states. He also pointed out that this beheading of ignorance is achieved through the development of insight and wisdom. And also in the process of developing or cultivating that insight or wisdom, one needs also to have certain contributory factors like faith and sincerity, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. Today, the Sayadaw will deal more with with the topic that was discussed yesterday.
လူရဲလို့ဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုရင်လူပိသားရေးအတွက်ကိုယ်တို့စိတ်ထားသုံးပါးလုံးရည်ကြည်စေနိုင်တဲ့ကျိုးစီးပွားအစစ်အမှန်သီလသမာဓိပညာအကျင့်သုံးရေးဟာလူတိုင်းအတွက်အရေးကြီးပါတယ်
Having had this wonderful opportunity to be born as human beings, it is equally important to fully exploit that opportunity and develop the practice of Sila, Samadhi and Panya.
အဲ့ဒီတရားတွေမိမိတဏ္ဍာမှာတော်တော်လေးကျင့်တတ်လောက်တဲ့အထိပြည့်စုံဖို့ဆိုတာကရှိဥစွာယုံကြည်လက်ခံမှုအကျဉ်းစားတတ်တာတရားရှိမထားရင်စိတ်ဟာမနှူးညံ့ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါရှိဥစွာတတ်တာတရားရှိထားဖို့အရေးကြီးပါတယ်
In the attempt to cultivate this practice of Sila, Samadhi and Panya, it is also very essential to have basic faith. Without faith, the mind would be very difficult. The mind will not be refined or soft enough to undertake that demanding task of fulfilling the qualities of Sila, Samadhi and Panya.
အဲ့ဒီတတ္တတရားစိတ်အစဉ်မှာမကပ်ရောက်လို့ရှိရင်စိတ်ဟာမတောင်းတောင်းကြီးပဲစိတ်မတောင်းတောင်းဖြစ်လို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်ကလည်းပဲမကျွန်းတော့ဘူးနိမတနိဝါဒဆိုတာလည်းပဲဘယ်နည်းနဲ့မှမရှိနိုင်တော့ဘူးအဲ့ဒါမရှိရင်အောက်ကျတဲ့သဘောမရှိလို့ရှိရင်ဒီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဟာတကယ်မိမိရဲ့အကျိုးစီးပွားအစစ်မှန်ဖြစ်တဲ့ကိလေသာမာပညာအကျင့်တရားကျင့်သုံးရေးမှာနိခံလို့တဲ့ဆန္ဒလည်းပဲမပေါ်နိုင်ပါဘူး။ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့တတ္တတရားနဲ့စိတ်ပျော်ပြောင်းအောင်လုပ်အောင်ပါဘူး။မပျော်ပြောင်းသေးတော့ဘယ်ဆန္ဒပေါ်နိုင်ပါလဲ။
Faith is very important because it has this powerful quality of being able to make the mind soft and pliable and receptive. Without faith, the mind can be very arrogant and hard and difficult to work with. A person who lacks in good faith will, on account of his arrogance, be difficult to really cultivate these qualities of Sila, Samadhi and Panya, which will only which will benefit him eventually. And a person who lacks in faith, who is lacking in faith, again will find it very difficult to become a student, to become a disciple, to be willing to accept the instructions or the method that is being taught.
ရိုးရိုးပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေမှာတော့သမယောဇတတ္တတရားတော့ရှိကြမှာပါပဲ။ဒါမှမဟုတ်အဲ့ဒီသမယောဇတတ္တတရားအဲ့တော့မလုံလောက်ပါဘူး။အဲ့ဒီသမယောဇတတ္တတရားကိုနှုတ်ပေးတဲ့အနေနဲ့ပေါ့လေ။တရားနာလို့စိတ်တည်မွေးရပါတယ်။ပြီးတော့ကိုယ်တို့စိတ်ဓာတ်၃ပါးလုံးယဉ်ကျေးစေနိုင်တဲ့ဤကောင်းတွေပေါ့လေ။လိလာလိုတဲ့ဆန္ဒတွေပေါ့လေ။ဒါတွေဖြစ်ရပါတယ်ဆန္ဒဖြစ်တဲ့အတိုင်းအဲ့ဒါတွေလေ့လာလိုက်လို့နာကြားတဲ့တရားတွေမှာလက်တွေ့ကျင့်သုံးခြင်းကြောင့်ရနိုင်တဲ့အကျိုးလေးတွေသိရပြီဆိုရင်ငကုသမယောဇတတ္တသို့မဟုတ်အေးဆက်ဆက်အိတ်နေတယ်လို့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့တတ္တတရားဟာထူးထူးခြားခြားနိုးလာတယ်
Some people who've had the opportunity perhaps of growing up in a suitable environment, conducive environment, may have what is called traditional faith. A faith that comes out of tradition. And that traditional faith is not quite sufficient. It's not really a very firm nor dependable sort of faith. It is, however, an advantage to have the traditional faith, but it needs to be worked on. With traditional faith, one can take a further step to cultivate a more durable sort of faith by listening to Dhamma talks and to also stimulate a sense of desire to want to cultivate or rather to civilize one's mind, one's deeds, physical deeds, one's speech and mind. And with that sincerity of purpose, sincerity in wanting to be civilized with respect to the body, to speech and to mind. If one practices according to the teaching and penetrates into the Dhamma in quite a profound way, then the original or the initial faith that was cultivated through tradition will be made more durable, more firm, more meaningful, more profound. And at that point, it's like waking up. For traditional faith, it's like sleeping faith. And with reading, with discussion, with listening to Dhamma talks, then this helps to awaken that faith. And finally, with deep penetration into the Dhamma, that faith is fully awake, wide awake.
တရားနာကြခြင်းဖြင့်နိုးလာတဲ့တတ္တတရားကိုတကယ်မိမိရဲ့တဏ္ဍာမှာတရားရဲ့အည်အသွေးတွေတရားရဲ့အကျိုးတွေပေါ့လေဖြစ်ထင်းစေလိုတဲ့ဆန္ဒဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတော့တာပဲဆန္ဒဖြစ်ပေါ်လာပြီဆိုရင်လက်တွေလည်းပဲကြိုးစားတော့တာပဲဝိရိယလည်းလာတော့တာပဲ
Once the traditional or sleeping faith has been poked, so to speak, into wakefulness, then through the listening of Dhamma talks and so forth, then very naturally the inspiration would come, and the inspiration to put the Dhamma into practice, the Dhamma that teaches us to cultivate or to civilize our speech, our bodily actions, our speech and our minds. When that inspiration comes and the sincerity of wanting to put the theory into practice is strong enough, then very naturally too effort will follow.
အဲ့ဒီကြိုးစားအားထုတ်မှုကလည်းပဲအဆင့်30နဲ့ကြိုးစားအားထုတ်ရပါတယ်အဆင့်30ဆိုတာကတိအာရမဓာတုအစာပြည့်ရကျူပန်းအားထုတ်မှုခုယောဂီများပရိပဋ္ဌာန်တရားရဲ့အကျိုးတွေနားလည်ပြီးတော့ဒီအကျိုးတွေရလို့တဲ့ဆန္ဒပြင်းပြပြထားပြီးတော့ဒီဌာနမှာယောဂီဖြစ်နေရောက်လာကြတယ်တရားနိနာယူပြီးတော့ရှိဥစွာပေါ့လေကိုယ်ရဲ့ကထင်ရှားပေါ်ရအာယုံထင်ရှားကြလိုက်ပြီးတော့ရှုမှတ်ရေးအတွက်အစပြိုးပြီးတော့ကြောင်းကြဆိုင်လိုက်တယ်ကျင့်ရ၆တဲ့ခါမှာလည်းပဲခြေထောက်စိတ်ကပ်ပြီးတော့ပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုံမလွတ်တတ်မှတ်နိုင်ဘူးအစပြိုးပြီးတော့ကြိုးစားအထုတ်လိုက်တယ်အခြားခြားပေါ်ရလေးတွေလည်းပဲပေါ်တိုင်းပေါ့လေမိသမျှလေးတွေဆွေးမြဲစွာမှတ်နိုင်ရေးအတွက်အစပြိုးပြီးတော့ကြိုးပမ်းအထုတ်လိုက်တယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုအစပြိုးပြီးတော့ကြိုးပမ်းအထုတ်တာဒါအာရမဓာတုခေါ်ပါတယ်
There are three aspects of effort involved in this process of cultivation. The first aspect of effort is called launching effort. It is the preliminary effort that arises when one is inspired by the Dhamma, by the qualities and the prospect of the Dhamma. And it is through this preliminary or launching effort that all of you have arrived at IMS, and with the willingness to put into practice what is being taught, and to try to be diligent in being mindful from moment to moment. Especially so when you're sitting, willing, or you have had the preliminary effort. The preliminary effort is being made to try to watch very carefully what is happening from moment to moment. Whatever that is most prominent that arises in your body, your mind. And also when you're walking, there is the preliminary effort made to try to follow the lifting, the pushing, and the placing processes from the respective beginning to the middle until the end. So that is the launching effort.
အဲ့ဒီလိုစက္ကန့်တိုင်းမလတ်ပေါ့လေမိနစ်တိုင်းမလတ်နာရီတိုင်းမလတ်ဒီလိုပဲအစာပြုတ်ပြီးတော့ကြိုးပမ်းအားထုတ်နေရတာပဲတရားမှာ24နာရီရှိတယ်24နာရီတည်းကလုံးဝအိပ်ပျော်ခြင်းခြံလာထားပြီးတော့ကျန်တဲ့အချိန်မှာသွားနေတုံးရနေတုံးထိုင်နေတုံးအရာပေါ်လှဲတုံးကိုယ်တုံးဆန်တုံးစောင်းတုံးငယ်တုံးကြွားတုံးလှမ်းတုံးခြားတုံးအလတ်မရှိရအောင်ပေါ့လေအမြဲတမ်းကြောင်းညက်ဆိုင်ပေးနေတော့အစာပြုတ်အားထုတ်နေတော့စိတ်ဟာအေးဆက်ဆက်ဖြစ်မသွားဘူးရော်ရဲရဲဖြစ်မသွားဘူးအဲ့ဒီအေးဆက်ဆက်ရော်ရဲရဲဌိနမိတာခေါ်တယ်အပြင်းလည်းခေါ်တယ်ကောသစ္စာလို့လည်းခေါ်တယ်အဲ့ဒီအပြင်းနေပြောက်သွားတယ်
With launching effort, one is motivated to be mindful as instructed each moment, not missing a second, through the hour, through the day, and within the 24 hours in a day, putting aside the hours prescribed for sleep, the rest of the time should be spent in full wakefulness, trying to be mindful of all activities in your sitting and whatever that happens during your sitting, during your walking, to the major postures, as well as to all the other miscellaneous activities, from sitting to the standing, from standing to walking, to reaching out, to bending, stretching, touching, eating, putting on your clothes, opening the door, blinking your eyes, and so forth. Even the teeniest movement, activity should be made the object of awareness. And that launching effort, indeed, can help to dispel sloth and torpor, or dullness of the mind, and sheer laziness.
အဲ့ဒါဝိရိယရှိတဲ့အတွက်ဝိရိယကစိတ်ရော်ရဲမှုအေးဆက်မှုပြင်းကြောဆွဲမှုပေါ့လေအပြင်းကိုတိုက်ရိုက်ပယ်လိုက်တာပါပဲသူအရှိန်ရလာလို့ရှိရင်နောက်တတိသမารိထူးထူးခြားခြားကြီးဖြစ်လာတယ်နောက်ပညာပါဖြစ်လာနိုင်တယ်အဲ့ဒီတတိသမารိပညာအစွမ်းနဲ့လည်းပဲတွေ့ဝိုက်တဲ့နီးနေပေါ့လေကိလေသာတွေကင်းသွားနိုင်တယ်
In fact, this launching effort is responsible for can be responsible for overcoming boredom in practice, a dullness in the mind during practice, a lack of clarity, an unwillingness to be mindful, and so forth. And with this launching effort too, mindfulness can be activated, which of course will lead to the development of concentration and the blossoming of wisdom. And all of these, of course, as we mentioned earlier, will help to dispel ignorance and put away the Kilesas.
ဒီတော့ကြောင်းကြဆိုင်ပြီးလို့တတိကပေါ်လာပြီဆိုရင်စိတ်စဉ်ကိရိတာဝင်ရအောင်လို့တတိကပိတ်ဆို့ပေးလိုက်ပြီဒီတတိဟာဘုရားရဲ့အစွမ်းကြောင့်ဖြစ်တဲ့တတိလေလို့ဆိုတော့ခုနကြောင်းကြစိုက်တဲ့အာရမဓာတုပေါ့လေလုံလဘုရားရဲ့အစွမ်းနဲ့ဖြစ်ပေါ်တဲ့တတိပဲအဲ့ဒီတတိနဲ့စိတ်စဉ်ကိရိတာဝင်ရအောင်ပိတ်ဆို့လိုက်တာ
In fact, sati or mindfulness has the wonderful power or capability of closing the door to defilements. And once there is mindfulness, the door is closed and the defilements will have no chance to enter into our consciousness. If one asks, how did the sati or the mindfulness come into being? Then one cannot deny that it is largely due to the initial effort, to this launching effort that we talk about. So in a sense, in an indirect way, launching effort is also a key factor responsible for the dispelling of the Kilesas, of the defilements.
ဆွေးမြဲစွာရှုမိရဲ့ရှုမိရအောင်လေးပေါ်မှာဖောင်းတာရှုမိဖောင်းတဲ့ပေါ်မှာပိန်တာရှုမိပိန်တဲ့ပေါ်မှာအခြားပေါ်ရာကိုရှုမိလို့ရှိရင်ကြောင်းရဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ရှုမိလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီရှုမိရအောင်မှာစိတ်ကလေးတွေကစူးစီးမိနေတာပဲအဲ့လိုစူးစီးမိတဲ့အခါစိတ်ဟာပြန်ကျဲသွားတာမရှိတော့ဘူးစိတ်ရဲ့စူးစီးမှုတမာရီပါတခါတည်းဖြစ်လာတာပဲတော့
Being mindful each moment, for example, if one is truly following the rising and falling very closely right behind the actual occurrence, or right quite simultaneous with the process, then the mind is sort of stuck to the rising and falling. It does not go astray, it is not dispersed, it is not scattered. And therefore it is collected, it is focused and concentrated and one-pointed. And one can see how mindfulness will very naturally lead to the development of concentration.
အဲ့ဒီလိုတတိတမာရီအားကောင်းဖို့အတွက်ပေါ့လေကျိုးပန်းရာမှာအကြောင်းအားလျော်စွာမတက်မတာမှုတွေတော့ဖြစ်တတ်တယ်ပထမဆုံးကိုယ်မတက်တာမှုနောက်စိတ်မတက်တာမှုဒီလိုဖြစ်တတ်တယ်ဒီကောတက်တော့တက်တာနေကြဖို့ဒီပုံကိုယ်တွေကအခုစိတ်ကိုလည်းပဲချုပ်တီးပြီးတော့ကိုယ်ကိုလည်းပဲညီသက်အောင်ပေါ့လေထိမ့်သိရတာကိုမျက်စိလည်းကြည့်နေမကြည့်နားလည်းထောင်ရိုင်းမထောင်ဆိုတော့အစစရာချုပ်တီးနေရတယ်ဆိုတော့စိတ်ပင်ပန်းလာပြီစိတ်ပင်ပန်းလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်လည်းပင်ပန်းလာပြီငါကတက်တော့တက်တာနေတဲ့နေမှုကိုကြိုက်တဲ့ပုံကိုယ်တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အကျဉ်းကြတစ်ခါတည်းမိပြီးတော့စိတ်ဟာယုံကန်လာတာပဲယုံကန်ပုံကတော့တက်တော့တက်တာပြန်ပြီးတော့နေကျင်တာလေးတွေပြင်ကျင်တာလေးတွေရွှေ့ကျင်တာလေးတွေပြောင်းကျင်တာလေးတွေပေါ့လျော်ရဲတဲ့စိတ်တွေဖြစ်လာတယ်အဲ့ဒါအပြင်းခေါ်တယ်အဲ့ဒီလျော်ရဲတဲ့စိတ်ကျော်လွန်သွားတဲ့အထိ mi long la wuriya ko to mhin pe ba de eda nikama dhatu lo khaw de tasin to yi a pyin ma long ya aw jo ba a thu mu de eda li de shi ya ba.
However, in the attempt made to consolidate this mindfulness and concentration, during the attempt that is being made, one will, of course, as all of you can testify, meet with a lot of difficulties. There is, of course, unpleasantness in the body. There can be unpleasantness in the mind. For most of us who have been so used to living a wild life, wild in the sense that the mind is not kept too well under control, it's just constantly succumbing to the perennial bombardment by sensual pleasures, it becomes kind of heavy to work with a mind that is being starved of all these sensual pleasures. Things we like to see, we're always very curious. We like to see, we like to hear, we like to do this and that. And when you come to this retreat, everything is a no. You got to keep your mind, you're concentrated, you mustn't see, you mustn't hear, and so forth. That can be very repressive. One can feel that one's freedom is being threatened. And that is one difficulty. That could cause a lot of mental agitation, mental resistance, mental suffering. And again, since we have been so used to luxurious sofas and Dhamma pillows and air cushions and so forth, you come in and you have to deal with all those prolonged sittings. You're not supposed to move an inch, you're supposed to be stiff and still and keep concentrated. If you want your mind to be calm and still, you're supposed to keep your body calm and still. And so you buy into all that and you really try hard. But there's the pain, there's the ache, there's your backache, and your knee, and so forth. And all these things, again, are obstacles. And you need something more than just preliminary launching effort. You need a boosting of the effort to get over these preliminary difficulties. And that is called the second aspect. And that brings us to the second aspect of effort, which is called liberating effort. It is the effort, a further boost of effort that is required to liberate us from these preliminary difficulties of mind and body.
တချို့တတ္တဆန္ဒရှိလို့လာရောက်အထောက်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များဟာအဲ့ဒါလိုဓာန်ဒီမခံနိုင်တာနဲ့မဟုတ်လို့2ရက်3ရက်နဲ့ပြန်ပြေးတာလည်းရှိတယ်။ပြေးပြီးတော့နေရပြီမဲ့လို့တခါအဲ့လိုအခက်ခဲလေးတွေကြုံသွားရင်ထိုင်နှုတ်ခါမှာမခံစားမှုတွေကြုံသွားရင်ထိုင်ရမယ့်နေရာတော့မှပြန်ပြီးတော့မကြည့်ကျင်တော့အောင်လည်းပဲဖြစ်သွားတတ်တယ်။တရားအထုတ်ဖို့ဆိုတာသူတို့နည်းနည်းကြောက်သွားတတ်တယ်။ကျိုးလည်းပဲအတော်ကြီးကြောက်သွားတတ်တယ်။ဒီကောင်ကြီးကစားနဲ့တိုးလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်တွန့်သွားတယ်လို့ပေါ့လေ။အဲ့လိုတွန့်ဖြစ်နေတတ်တယ်။အဲ့ဒါကောသစ္စာခေါ်တယ်တော့။အဲ့ဒါကိုနိုင်နေမှုသိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်။
There are also cases of yogis who arrive at a meditation center and very full of enthusiasm. They start to sit and follow the schedule. Within 2 or 3 days, they have to face with so much mental resistance and physical discomfort that some of them immediately flee home. This is a very common occurrence. There is another type of yogi who is a bit more persevering, and he goes through all his motions of meditation, goes through his postures and his walking and his sitting. And he has to experience this very painful sitting which he's never had. And at the end of the sitting, he is so disgusted that he even refuses to want to sit in that place again ever in his life. The third type of yogi is one who is a bit nervous. The very mention of the word meditation sends shivers down his spine. It's a very torturous process of having to control that mind. Sayadaw says it's like putting salt on a worm, see how it cringes.
The Church Yogi le ngạ là mi đã ma ra về chiều đại đôn này bố cô riêng gì đi đó Anapana này sẽ bị đó nia để khá tự nhiên đi chơi nếu dùng tên này bị mà chuyên biểu mới này thấy à mày sao đó tên này mà bị à bị đi đó thấy nia đó tôi bị mất gì ấy đi cả gia đình chị hoa chế bị tàn sốc này chế bị cái này sốc này là chế bị đông lấy thủ ra này là khá là đậm thấy ngã chút gì ta biết này là mà bỏ bị đó tất tông tiền ta biết đó là ấy dùng yogi làm nhái gì.
Yogi number 4 is one who is a bit more, shall we say, disciplined. Well, he will sit for that hour, and he will sit and he will listen he will do according to instructions. He was instructed to sit for an hour. He's not supposed to move an inch and to look at all that appears in the body with mindfulness. And so he sits, and halfway through the sitting is filled with this back-breaking ache. But he's got a lot of faith, but he keeps on persevering. But he's not really actually looking at the pain, but he's just waiting for the bell. He's sitting down there and is waiting, when will the bell ring? When will the bell ring? And when it does ring, he's off his seat in a second. And some yogis look forward to that.
Yogi nhiều thì khoe ra được công nên vui am gì bảo. Thế đó, ấy đi khám nhiều mà yo ye đấy ít sẽ xây nhiều bỏ đi. Xong bị để xây nhiều mà mua về này, cái gì gì đi sa, nắp bê khát cũng khát bị đi sa. Mimi cô này là con, tên này là con. Nghe qua chim xì về này, xuân dài à mày, để đâu lưu chi, lưu mà khăn tâm hung yêu đó, bố mía bà về, bố đất đã bà về, đi bố đất đấy, mà khăn tâm hung đâu khâu về nào. Chiều luôn toa để thi bỏ đi, đi khăn, đi tha bị đâu bỏ đi, chú xin bố yêu xin em yêu lo mu bây giờ mình sẽ đánh bỏ đi, tất cả sẽ bị bố giờ nick ham mình sẽ đánh, này chú mà follow đấy.
However, there will be no end if we keep on talking about the different types of yogis. They come in all shapes and sizes, and Sayadaw instead would like to stress that at times of crisis like these, when you have to encounter very unpleasant and painful sensations, one needs to be very persevering and patient and brave and courageous to confront all these unpleasant situations without in any way having any attachment to your body, to the limbs in your body, or to life. one must be so brave and courageous and heroic to be prepared to even give up your life. And with that heroic effort, with that courage, then doubtless one will be able to overcome these unpleasant situations by actually penetrating into their true nature.
အဲ့ဒီမခံစားမှုတွေလွန်မြောက်သွားတဲ့အထိနိုင်နိုင်နေဖြစ်ဖို့ကတော့အဲ့ဒီမခံစားမှုဝေဒနာကိုသိဖို့လိုပါတယ်သိအောင်မှတ်တဲ့နေရာမှာကြိုးစားပြီးတော့ဆွဲဆွဲမြဲမြဲရှုလေလေဒီပေါ်မှာစိုက်ကြလေလေဉာဏ်ကမပွင့်သေးဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဘဲကနာတယ်ကျင်တယ်ကြိုက်တယ်ခဲတယ်ဆိုတာဒီအစွဲတွေဝင်ပြီးတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့စိတ်ဓာတ်တွေကြတတ်တယ်မလျှော့ရဘူးစိုက်မှလေဒီနာလေဒီဖြစ်လို့ရှိရင်နည်းနည်းလေးစိတ်ကလေးလျှော့ပြီးတော့နှုံးလျှော့ပြီးတော့မှအဲ့ဒီမခံစားတဲ့သဘောပေါ်မှာအသာလေးမေးတင်ပြီးတော့မှတစ်ခါတစ်ခါစိတ်နှုံးတင်ပြီးတော့မှတ်လိုက်မသက်သာဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်စိတ်နှုံးလေးလျှော့မှတ်လိုက်နှုတ်တင်မှတ်လိုက်စိတ်နှုံးလေးလျှော့မှတ်လိုက်အဲ့ဒါလိုလုပ်ရတယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုလုပ်လို့မှမသက်သာလာဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ခဏထားလိုက်အောင်သူတွတ်ထားလိုက်ပြန်မှတ်နေကြဟာကိုခါတိုင်းစူးစိုက်နေကြတယ်ပို့ပြီးတော့စူးစိုက်မှနားလာပြန်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တခါစိတ်နှုတ်တင်ပြီးတော့မှတ်လိုက်မသက်သာဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လျှော့မှတ်လိုက်အဲ့ဒါလိုအချိန်ပေါင်းများစွာလုပ်လို့ရှိရင်ဝေဒနာလေးတွေတိလာတယ်တစ်ချက်မှတစ်ချက်သိတယ်တစ်ချက်မှတစ်ချက်သိလာတာသိပါများတဲ့ခါကျတော့ဝေဒနာကြီးတက်ကွက်တွေးလာတာပဲအဲ့ဒီခါကျဝေဒနာနိုင်လာပြီရဲလာပြီအမွေမပြောက်ဘူးလို့ထင်တာအခုပျောက်သွားပြီဝေဒနာတွေတဲဟုတ်ပါလားဆိုဒီဝေဒနာတွေမှတ်ရတာတဲဟုတ်ပါလားဆိုပြီးတော့အားရလာတယ်ရဲလာတယ်အဲ့ဒါဝိရိယခေါ်တယ်ဝိရိယဆိုတာရဲလာတာပြောတာတတ္တိရှိတာ
Asana, Asana. Oh, yeah. Overcoming these painful sensations and these painful situations means to gain an insight into the true nature, to know them for what they really are. And in order to arrive at that insight, one has to be persevering and patient, courageous and heroic. If, for example, there is a very painful sensation that occurs in a part of your body, the first step for you to do is to go immediately to confront it, to work with it, to work on it, to see what that painful sensation is all about. And if you note it and it gets worse, it increases in intensity, then you must make a very firm resolve, be courageous. You're going to see it through. You're going to look at it until you fully understand it. However, if insight is still immatured, is still in its infantile stages, one can be discouraged because concepts of body, of limbs, of the knee, of the leg, and so forth, they get into the way. And we tend to associate with these things, and we are scared. We're scared that you'll never walk again. That you're going to be a hunchback for the rest of your life. And so when that happens, and one really tries, but too bad, inside is still very immature. So you go on to the next step, which is a sort of playing with the pain, is a kneading the pain, kneading into the pain. You look at the pain and you concentrate on it with all your mindfulness, as intense as you get, and you find that it doesn't work, it's causing you a lot of mental fatigue, and you're not being mindful at all because of a lot of aversion and other things occurring. So what you do is you stay, you place your attention still on that pain, but reduce the intensity of your concentration, the intensity of your mindfulness. You're still there, you're still looking at the pain, but it's a sort of sitting back and looking at it rather than going in and taking a very close look. So one does that for some time, going in and out, increasing in intensity and loosening a bit, going in and out maybe 4 or 5 times. And if still it doesn't work, then one can go on to the 3rd gear. You ignore the pain and go back to your basic object of meditation. Stay with the rising and falling. And at that point, one should try one's best to keep attention fully on the basic object of meditation and to ignore the pain altogether. This approach sometimes can be pretty helpful, and eventually when the mind is strengthened through watching the rising and falling, the basic object of meditation, then it can go back to watch the pain, and we can start from step 1 all over again, to go straight into the pain, to penetrate into it. And so we can go through this process, and once you're able to break through that painful situation, it can be really very, very exhilarating. It's very inspiring. You've made a kill, and you become really very brave and courageous. Next time you see pain again, say, no big deal, come, I'm gonna go for you. So Sayadaw says it's very important to have that victory. It boosts your morale. And that's what the word virya in Pali, which is usually translated as effort, actually means heroic effort. It is not just any sort of insignificant effort, but it's a very courageous and heroic effort that is needed.
အဲ့ဒါလိုရဲရဲနဲ့ဝရိယဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတာနဲ့ပဲနောက်ထိုင်ရမှလည်းမကြောက်တော့ဘူးပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုံကိုမလွတ်တမ်းမှတ်နိုင်ရေးအတွက်ကြောင်းညဆိုင်မှုလည်းပဲတော်တော်လေးမြဲဆွဲလာပြီပြီးတော့မခံစားတဲ့ဒုက္ခဝေဒနာတွေကိုလည်းပဲရင်ဆိုင်ရဲလာပြီဟုတ်တယ်လေပွဲကတိုးသွားတော့အခက်အခဲကျော်သွားတဲ့ခါကျတော့ငါကတွန့်ဆုတ်လို့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့တတ္တိကြောင့်မှုဟာကျော်သွားတယ်ဆိုတော့တတ္တိရှိလာတာပေါ့ရဲလာတာပေါ့နော်
So reiterates that with this first victory of yours, it can be really very, very significant. As you said earlier, this first victory can be the cause for so much courage and so much self-confidence. The next time you come face to face with another difficult and painful situation. It also makes your effort on a general basis, makes it generally very much more durable and firm with respect to other objects. And this is very true. this is very true. The initial hesitation and doubts and diffidence that we may suffer from when we first encounter with pain is or are dispelled into non-existence the very moment that we gain victory over a painful situation. And the next time that we come face to face with pain, it will be with full self-confidence and heroic courage.
အဲ့ဒီအစဉ်လောက်ရောက်လာရင်ပဲတတိလည်းပဲထူးခြားခြားကောင်းလာပါပြီပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုံမလွတ်တမ်းစွစွမြဲမြဲလည်းမှတ်နိုင်လာပြီမှတ်နိုင်တော့စိတ်စဉ်ကိလေသာတွေမွေရနာလည်းတိတ်ထင်ရှားတယ်မိတာလွတ်တာတွေမရှိသလောက်နောက်စွစွမြဲမြဲလည်းပဲရှိရမှာစုကလေးစိတ်ကလေးကက်ကကြနေတဲ့တမာရီလည်းပဲဖြစ်လာတာပဲအဲ့ဒီကကြတော့ရှုစရာအာယုံကနေပြီးတော့စိတ်ကလေးကွာသွားတာဟသွားတာရွေ့သွားတာလွင့်သွားတာမရှိဘူးချက်ကလေးတခါလေးကတ်နေတော့တာပဲသိကောင်းလားအဲ့ဒါမှကိလေသာတွေကင်းသွားတာပေါ့
Once this effort is consolidated, then everything begins to fall into place. Everything begins to happen more smoothly. With appropriate and right effort, then mindfulness comes with ease, with accuracy and very penetrative. It penetrates into the object and it stays there on account of the one-pointedness of mind, the concentration of mind that develops. And at that point, the mind is so concentrated and so mindful that with each and every moment, mindfulness is present. There is no occasion for carelessness, there are no slips. And the concentrated mindfulness becomes so sharp, so sharpened, so precise, that it's able to fall, is able to hit the target at each moment without slipping off, without being inaccurate. Like as though it's happening just a split second, or even it may sometimes appear that it's happening simultaneous with the object of awareness.
အဲ့ဒါစိတ်တွေရှင်းသွားတော့နှောက်ချက်တွေကင်းသွားတော့မြင်နိုင်ခဲ့လို့နဲ့နေတဲ့တရားဟာဟိုနာဒုက္ခသစ္စာထိုက်တဲ့တရားတွေပေါ့လေကြောင်းကျိုးဆက်ပုံတွေပေါ့လေဘယ်လောက်ပဲနဲ့ပေါ်လွင်လာတယ်ရှုစရာလေးရတစ်ခုရှုတာတစ်ခုကွဲလာတယ်ဆက်မှတ်နေလို့ခုနအတိုင်းရှင်းနေလို့ရှိရင်တခါကြောင်းကျိုးဆက်တည်တည်လာတယ်ဘယ်လောက်ပဲနဲ့ပေမယ်လို့ပေါ်လွင်လာတယ်တဲ့ညာဝမှာတခါလဲစိုက်လာတာကြောင်းကျိုးဆက်တရားတွေပေါ်မျက်စိရဲ့သဘောပဲဆိုတာတည်လာတယ်ဒီနည်းနဲ့ပဲအစစ်ဆက်တခါလဲညာနေပွင့်သွားတာတော့သူ့ပါကတဆိုတာတိတ်ပေါ်လွင်လာတာတရားတွေရှင်းလေးတည်လာတယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုလိုပါတယ်
With that quality of concentrated and precise mindfulness, you can see how the Kilesas are completely banished from the scene. They have no chance at all to arise. And it is said that once these opposition phenomena meaning the defilements, the hindrances and so forth, once they have been dispelled, once they have been overcome, then even very profound dhammas become quite apparent. Profound dhammas here mean truth, meaning insight into the nature of phenomena. It is indeed very profound to be able to gain a penetration, to see that in all your direct experience, direct personal experience, there is only the noting mind and the noted object, and that they come and go according to certain sets of laws, with the mechanism of cause and effect. And we can even penetrate deeper to gain an understanding into their impermanence, into their suffering nature, and the fact that there is no one, no self behind the whole process.
Yona mati de awisa kompya chadwara. Cháu chú tí lo chi yin, cháu chú mati de awisa kompya chadwara. Miera, siera, tu boda tu chita, mati lo chi yin. Tu tí dwara, era di, tí chin, mati mu awisa di, pya chani da, tai shin,
With each moment of penetrative mindfulness, meaning the mindfulness or the consciousness that arises in conjunction with a wisdom that understands or comprehends that all things are no more than mind and matter, and that they are related to a mechanism of cause and effect, and that they also exhibit the characteristics of impermanence, of suffering and non-self. These insights will behead ignorance with regard to mind and matter, ignorance with regard to cause and effect, ignorance with regard to the three characteristics. And every moment, every second, every hour, every day that you're able to activate this sort of penetrative, precise mindfulness, you are cutting off a lot of heads.
Era wo changa mya pha pya tha de. Di lo amma ma ti mu awisa ri kaung pyut cha pi do amma ti mu awisa ri phit la ya da ha Patibeka Wukamanina, Kamidori Dhamma, Tupagato, Boya, you so high. Patibeka Wukamanina, Sanyebe, now she had a Kilita Teyazu, Kinkwa Huya, or Kinkwa Dwama Kamidori Dhamma, Shuzia, Ayun Teariga, Balope, Neneziga, Tupagato, Boya. Kongi Paul with his Shabadi Kongi Paul with his Shadi and a jump yard, Pitibaka will come in out of yard.
Asama.
Jangam Yamadi Dime, Pitibaka will come in out of Sutari.
Asara was just making a reference to the scriptures which say that no matter how profound the Dhamma may be, it will become quite apparent once the Kilesas which hinder or obstruct development of insight have been destroyed or have been overcome.
Hello, the Gilly Pilara Bobby or Tadadi Pilare Bobby or Levity Diago, 2 video looking like Sanari Le Popin Pialare. Uriya le po kaung la de. Po bi do chong nya sai mu li bo. Bi do alo le be chong nya sai mu li phit la. A shin ya. Uriya a shin ya la da tatiya le a shin ya la bi. Tamariya le be a shin ya la bya bi. အဲ့ဒါလို့အရှင်ရလာတဲ့အခါမှာအာရထဝိရိယဆိုတာဖြစ်လာတယ်အာရထဝိရိယဆိုတာပက္ခိတဝိရိယပေါ့လေမြင့်တက်လာတဲ့ဝိရိယအရာဝတ္ထုတစ်ခုကိုအောက်ကနေဆွဲမတင်လိုက်တဲ့အခါရနေတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးအောက်ကျသွားတယ်လည်းမဟုတ်တဖြည်းဖြည်းမြင့်တက်လာတာအဲ့ဒါလို့မြင့်တက်ပါများလာရဲ့ပြည့်စုံလာတယ်ပရိပုံနာဝိရိယဖြစ်လာတယ်အဲ့ဒါပရကမဝိရိယပရကမဓာတုလို့ခေါ်တယ်အစဉ်စဉ်တိုး၍ပန်းတိုင်ရောက်တဲ့ဒီကျိုးပန်းအထုတ်မှုတဲ့အစဉ်စဉ်တိုးလာတာဓမ္မ
With the arising of the sort of insights that we talked about, very naturally, there will be more faith. Faith becomes even more deep and profound and more durable. And as a result, the sincerity and the earnestness in the practice will become much more intensified. Similarly, because the first two aspects of launching effort and liberating effort have been made, then there comes about an increasing, an upsurge of energy, which of course will also mean that mindfulness and concentration become activated very easily. In fact, that surge of energy will eventually lead to a space that is called effortless effort, that it goes on by itself, and it seems to go on by itself, and that one is just sitting back and watching. Now that brings us to the third aspect of effort, which actually can be divided into two again. It's called uplifting effort. It is the effort that is always on the go, it's always increasing. It's like you were to lift something, you were to take something from a table and you to lift it up, and the effort that is expended is concerned with lifting this cup up and up. There is no question of retrogression. There is only progress. There is only a going forward, and that's why it's called uplifting energy, uplifting effort. It lifts one's mindfulness and all the factors further and further upward into a realm that's called Paripurna Virya, which is which means a very complete or fulfilling sort of effort. It is complete because it is the culminating effort. So this last aspect of effort begins with uplifting effort and ends with ultimate effort.
သူရဲ့ရှေ့ပိုင်းကတတ္တာတရားအားကောင်းမှုလိုပါတယ်။ဆန္ဒပြင်းပြဖို့လိုပါတယ်။ တတ္တနဲ့သန္တာအားကောင်းလို့ရှိရင်ဝိရိယဖြစ်လာတာပဲဝိရိယဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တတိသမารိတွေလည်းပဲလာတော့တာပဲတတိသမารိလာပညာဖြစ်လာတယ်အမှန်မသိမှုအဝိဇ္ဇာတွေဟာပြက်ပြက်ကြနေတာပဲသိရှင်းတာပဲဒီမှာအဲ့ဒီတိုင်းကြိုးစားအထုကြဝေရဒီနေ့ဒါတော့ပဲတိုက်တွန်းရစီတော့အကြောင်းကျိုးဆက်ပုံလေးတွေပြောစရာ2ချက်3ချက်လောက်ကြားနေပါသေးတယ်အဲ့ဒါနောက်ဖက်ကနောက်နေ့တွေကြားမှာပဲဆက်ပြီးတော့ဟောပါတော့အားကောင်းလို့ရှိရင်ဝိရိယဖြစ်လာတာပဲဝိရိယဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တတိသမารိတွေလည်းပဲလာတော့တာပဲတတိသမารိလာပညာဖြစ်လာတယ်အမှန်မသိမှုအဝိဇ္ဇာတွေဟာပြက်ပြက်ကြနေတာပဲသိရှင်းတာပဲဒီမှာအဲ့ဒီတိုင်းကြိုးစားအထုကြဝေရဒီနေ့ဒါတော့ပဲတိုက်တွန်းရစီတော့အကြောင်းကျိုးဆက်ပုံလေးတွေပြောစရာ2ချက်3ချက်လောက်ကြားနေပါသေးတယ်အဲ့ဒါနောက်ဖက်ကနောက်နေ့တွေကြားမှာပဲဆက်ပြီးတော့ဟောပါတော့အဲ့ဒီတိုင်းဝိရိယတ3မျိုးရှိပြီးတော့ကြိုးစားအထုလို့အမှန်မသိမှုအဝိဇ္ဇာကောင်းပြတ်အောင်ပေါ့ငြိမ့်တဲ့နေပါကိုမသိတဲ့အဝိဇ္ဇာဥကောင်းပြတ်တဲ့အထိကြိုးစားပွားများအထုနိုင်ကြပါစေ
It will be noticed that saddha, or faith, is very important. In this whole chain process of faith, sincerity, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, it is faith that is the basic foundation. With good faith and strong faith, one can develop the succeeding contributory factors of insight. Faith will lead to sincerity and commitment to the practice, which again will cause effort to arise. And as we saw just now, effort can again start the whole chain reaction going, from launching effort to liberating effort, to uplifting effort, to culminating effort, going through various aspects and various levels of energy, through also the effortless sort of effort, to eventually break through the realization of nirvana. So I would like to conclude today's discourse by hoping that all of you may be filled with good faith, and that you may be able to go through the various different energy levels and eventually penetrate and eventually behead the head of samsara, of ignorance, and eventually attain nirvana.